Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today's video is going to be about my woolly thistle fall sweater knit along sweater, which is the Yokey Dokey by Gudrun Johnston. And today I'm wearing my Porty pullover, also by Gudrun Johnston. And there's no video on my channel about the Porty pullover, but there is a video about it. And to see it, you can go to the Woolly Thistles blog, which I'm gonna link in the box below this video, so right down there. You can click that link to see it. There's a short video, it's not super long, and some information about this sweater. I did knit it in Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, mostly. It's a little bit of Jamieson's of Shetland and a little bit of Supreme jumper weight in there also. As you can tell, today I'm in a new location in my house. I think the lighting is better here. There's a bunch of dog food right there, but that's fine. Yeah, so that's, I'm trying different lighting situations and loudness situations. I wanted to film outside today because it's overcast, which means it's a great time to show pieces because the colors will come out properly, but again, they're doing landscaping next door. It's been going on for months. It's very loud, so can't do that. Okay, so I chose the Yokey Dokey. That was not my first original plan. So the first thing I did for the Woolly Thistle sweater knit along was choose my yarn. And you have to have yarn from the Woolly Thistle, at least 80% of the yarn. So I decided to try out Jagger Spun, which is from Maine, Springvale, Maine. And this this yarn is pretty economical. There's almost 500 yards in the skein, so it's a light fingering. It says Heather. I thought that the color name was like Smoke. I think it is. It just doesn't say that on here. Oh yeah, there it is, Smoke. Yeah, Heather. It's because the yarn is really heathered. Oh, that's showing up way better than it was at the dining room table. So maybe I'll just keep recording here. Yeah, made in the USA. So I decided to use Jagger Spun. I wanted to knit a yoke sweater because I'd knit this Porty pullover and I loved it. So I wanted to continue that fun. So originally I thought I was gonna knit Night Blooms from Espace Tricot, which was released in August, I think. Yeah, August. But that's written for a DK weight. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do a swatch. I'm gonna see what the gauge is. I'm gonna see if I can modify it because it's pretty easy to modify a yoke sweater. You just kind of knit one of the sizes that's gonna be correct with your gauge. So like if I wanted a 40-inch sweater, you know, I would knit my swatch and then I would measure the gauge and then I would figure out which of those sizes would give me a 40-inch sweater at that gauge by doing some math. So I knit my swatch and I used the Jagger Spun and I used Daughter of a Shepherd Heritage, which I got in my Woolly Thistle box right around Thanksgiving. It came in early December, so Daughter of a Shepherd Heritage. This is 75% Hebridean, 25% Swartbles, grade 1 fiber from the north of England, yard from Hebridean sheep, summer 2019 clip. It's 437 yards per 100 grams. But this is, so it's also fingering weight. Sorry, I was holding that right in front of my face. But this is also, it's really, really similar in gauge and weight to Jagger Spun. I think this is a little, there's a little more air in Jagger Spun. So you get same amount, 100 grams, but there's like 60 more yards in here because there's more air spun into the yarn probably. I don't know. I say that as though I know what I'm talking about. I don't. But the yarns pair really well together. The Daughter of a Shepherd, this is the back of the swatch, is super natural. It smells really sheepy. It washes really nicely. There's beautiful bloom. You can tell it's the real deal because when you wash it, you'll see that the water turns a little murky. That's because it's from a farm, and that is amazing. You really know that. I find that really connects me to the fact that, you know, this came from an animal, you know, Somebody worked really hard to get that yarn to me so beautifully. Anyway, so it didn't work out because this was just too small. Like that was, yeah, you could have that as a yoke pattern, but it's just too small. Like I would knit this pattern. It's a free pattern, by the way, so I'll link it in the show notes. But I thought for a yoke sweater, I wanted something deeper, kind of more like this porty pullover. So since I had just knit this, I looked at some of Gudrun Johnston's other patterns and I decided to knit Yokey Dokey. And the yoke is done and I blocked it and it's dry. So I'm gonna show you. Here is Yokey Dokey. Ooh. So it's on 2 needles right now. Those little stoppers are Cocoa Knits stitch stoppers. They're made out of some kind of foam. They're great. They don't budge. So I wanted a pop of red in there. In the original Yokey Dokey pattern, there are like a bunch of contrasting colors in the yoke, and it's gorgeous. But I just wanted to use the Hebridean or Heritage yarn from Daughter of a Shepherd because it's like a really nice way to use a special yarn. And it's like one of those things, like, how do I use my really special yarns? You can do this. You can show it off really well. I added this pop of red. This is Knit Picks palette in Cayenne, just a little bit. The Knit Picks palette is also a light fingering and it's all 100% wool and it's 2-ply, just like these two, but it's a little heavier. It's a little rounder, more processed. That's fine. You can use slightly different weights to do color work, or really different weights. Tin Can Knits just put a post out about this the other day on their blog, which I'll link in the show notes, about using different weights together in color work and how to do that effectively and how not to be afraid of it. You just have to practice. Okay, so this sweater, as well as the porty pullover, has a gauge of, well, in the pattern, 27 stitches over 4 inches. So the reason I blocked this was to really make sure that I knew what I was getting for gauge. This is about, in color work, it's about 28 stitches. So it's a little tiny bit tighter, but I knew that this yarn was really lightweight, so I decided to knit up a size. So it's gonna fit totally fine. Not gonna be a problem. I think, so I've knit the yoke on a size 3 needle, and I think I might go down to a 2.5 for the body, because as many of us know, stockinette tends to be looser. And body knitting especially is usually looser than sleeve knitting, and etc. And definitely color work knitting. And I would like to illustrate the power of blocking for you in this video, because there's no example of an unblocked yoke. So instead I'm going to show you something completely different. But one of the reasons I often block my yokes is just to see like how the yarn blooms. So with something like this, this is Shetland wool, or this is 100% wool, non-superwash, basically. The bloom will be significant. It really did look different. It was more bumpy. Just didn't, the yarn looked thinner. It really did a beautiful job puffing up. I gotta get that out of the way. This is how much I have left. I used about 75 grams of this in the yoke, so I have 3 skeins. It should be okay. Okay, but lots of yarns will behave differently after blocking. So why you should always block. Okay, so in a video that I recently uploaded, I think I'm gonna upload that one before I upload this one. If you haven't figured this out by now, I don't upload videos in the order that I record them necessarily. Sometimes it's like months before I upload them. This is my love note, the first love note that I made. I'm wearing it in a video that I have put up. It's about Norwegian knitting books. And I was just talking to myself about that because actually I recorded it the other day, but it's not up yet as of recording, but I think I'm gonna do that one today. So it has these little hearts, these little lace hearts. Very soft. This is wool and mohair. It's a little cropped sweater, little 3/4 length sleeves. I've washed it a couple times, but you know, you really need to block a sweater like this because the lace needs to relax. Here's an example of what it looks like if you knit a love note and you haven't blocked it yet. And this is one that I'm almost done with. So this is the 8th time I've knit the love note pattern. I just knit this in the last couple of days because I needed a palette cleanser, and the gauge is really loose on a love note. It's like 16 stitches over 4 inches, and you use fingering singles and mohair, or any fingering yarn and mohair. or DK weight yarn, whatever you want, to get the gauge of 16 stitches over 4 inches with a pretty loose fabric. Anyway, this is a little crazy. It's very bright, so get ready. I'm almost done, or I'm about halfway done the second sleeve, so should get done later today. None of the ends are woven in, and there it is. So this is one of the ways that I'm just using up leftover yarn. I have a lot of fingering singles from mittens, so this is 3 different colors. You can really see the yoke is darker red, and then there's kind of like an orangey red here, and then there's a lighter orange down here. So this is my very fiery love note. Same on the sleeves, you can just see. The mohair kind of helps it blend. It's pretty obviously like many different colors, but that's okay. This is unblocked. Like, it doesn't hang at all. And you can sort of tell that there's like this lace pattern, but it's like really kind of puffy and weird, and it's not relaxed. So I'm just gonna hold this up and them next to each other. That's really flat. You can tell what the pattern is. All the stitches are lying flat. It's totally relaxed, yeah. It's grown a lot in length because that's what happens to superwash yarns when you block them. So yeah, this looks really, really tiny. It's gonna be, I mean, it's still a little bit of a cropped sweater with 3/4 length sleeves. This is the completed sleeve. But yeah, one thing that I learned recently that I'm gonna share with you as a tip, and I did it for this one as well. So you can see this is the back. So I've woven in my ends, but I haven't trimmed them. And I learned this from watching Andrea Mowry's little Q&A videos that she does, which are really good. She gives you a ton of tips for just like all kinds of knitting, and you might have the same questions as some of the people who have submitted them. And she's also just like really pleasant to listen to. She says, weave in your ends before you block, but don't cut them. And the reason is because a lot of times during the blocking process, like you're, you know, wiggling it around, pulling it into shape, etc. You might, and your ends are gonna really settle after blocking. So if you cut before, you might get one that pokes out or something and you don't like the look. So it's nice to do it, to weave them in, but don't trim them until after blocking. So now I can trim these because I've blocked this yoke. But like this, I haven't trimmed any of these ends yet, or I haven't woven them in at all, but I will weave them in and not trim them until I am ready, until it's done blocking, because then, yeah, then it'll have settled, the ends won't pull out. Because even with the superwash yarn, there's mohair in that, so it'll kind of hold everything together. But yeah. Okay, so I really like Gudrun Johnston's patterns. As you can tell, I'm wearing the Porty one. I love this. One of the reasons that I really like these patterns, she has a bunch of new yoke patterns, like recent-ish, like the last few years, like Yokey Dokey, Porty. There's a new one called the High Desert Yoke, which I think is bottom up. They're like simple, they're just yoke sweaters, but they're not overwhelming. Because, you know, there's no long floats. You can really play with color. There's not too much that's difficult. Oh, there goes Hobbs. Some squirrel is annoying him. And they're not boring at all. Like, you definitely get enough interest with the color work, and then you get a lot of stockinette. And then they're also really easy to modify, and especially the ones that are top down. That's not the traditional Shetland style, but it is a style that's really familiar with a lot of knitters right now. Yoke sweaters are great, and top down is easier to modify, or easier to use all your yarn, because you can knit the sleeves first, and then knit the body with your remaining yarn, etc. I'm gonna go get him. Excuse me a moment. Okay, I'm back. I had to get Hobbs. There was a chipmunk in the stone wall, and he was really offended. Look, look! Hobbs is super cute. He's like a stuffed animal, except he's crazy. He's a Cairn Terrier, so he's the same as Toto, but he's blonde. And yeah, he's a lot. He's 4.5, so he's kind of settled down, but he still gets really offended by chippies. What do you think, Hobbs? Very calm now. Well, he might hang out for the rest of the video. You got a lot of burrs on you. There you go. There's a lot of burrs in the yard, so they get stuck in his very long fur. We don't groom him at a groomer's, so he doesn't get shaved. He just gets, my mom just cuts his hair. So he's kind of shaggy and fluffy. Anyway, I like these patterns because they're easy to modify, right? So I modify almost every pattern that I knit just because I think it's good practice to kind of just like put your own spin on something. Hey, Hobbs, look. Yeah, it's you. Can you see yourself? No. Yeah, I like to do mods because I find that my own personal preference is what it is. And so I just, yeah. So for this, this is just a plain sweater. The only mods I really did was completely change the color palette in a little bit of a crazy way. But again, if you want to know the colors I used, you can go watch the video, which is linked down below. So my mods in the Yokey Dokey, in this sweater, you actually do some more of these little peries after these are the peries, the two, they're all the same. You do some more of them after you separate for the sleeves. And it's really cute in the original pattern because there's like 5 different colors, and so you're finishing off doing one in each color. But I only used 3 colors total, 2 contrasting colors, so I just wanted it to be symmetrical. So I didn't do that. The original pattern is great because there's a tunic version, so like a long one with these really cool pockets. And there's a balloon sleeve version, which is also really cool. I'm just knitting a totally plain straight body version. Knitting the 3rd size. I assume it's gonna be a little bit smaller. So it's gonna fit me with a couple of inches of ease, maybe 3 inches of ease, which is a comfortable fit for me. This one I also modified, the gauge is looser. I just like didn't want to knit with needles that small. Thought I'm just gonna knit the smallest size. And I did, and it fits me. It's a little cropped, and I bound off this in the contrasting color, which I love. I'm totally gonna do the same thing for this one. I'm gonna use the Daughter of a Shepherd just when I'm doing my cast off row, just for a little extra pop. Maybe I'll do some details on the sleeves. I haven't decided. I like the sleeve details on the Porty pullover a lot. And I'm gonna do tapered sleeves on my Yokey Dokey. So anyway, we're 3 weeks into the Woolly Thistle Cow out of 8. So I got through the slog. I'm gonna do the body now. I'm gonna separate the sleeves and the body, and that's gonna be my main stockinette project. I don't know about everyone else, but I like to do, I always have like 10 projects going at once, but they're not always like actively being worked on. So I have like 3 pairs of socks always on the needles, but then, I'm usually just working on one at a time. And I almost always have like a stockinette project, like of a sweater. So sometimes, that's why I knit a lot of yoke sweaters, I think, because there's a big stockinette section. You can take it places if it's not too big. Again, I also really like self-striping sock yarn for that reason, because you can just knit vanilla socks, which I love. And it's just like really easy. If you've knit socks before, then you don't need to like be looking at a pattern at all to knit vanilla socks, because as long as you have a heel turn that you're comfortable with, or any kind of heel that you're comfortable with, it's pretty easy to memorize. But so this is gonna be my stockinette project. I just have to finish up this love note. I just have a little bit left on that sleeve. My crazy love note on fire. Yeah, that's like another hour of knitting. So that's good. And then I'm gonna get to the body of Yokey Dokey. I've really enjoyed knitting with this Jagger spun. And again, now that I've blocked it, I know that it's gonna be such a nice finished sweater. It's really soft. I mean, it's not like superwash, but it's pretty soft for a non-superwash, relatively unprocessed wool. It's definitely softer than Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, although I don't have any problems with this. I wear this. I'm wearing a t-shirt, but like other than that, there's nothing on my sleeves, and I don't have any problems with that. I know some people do, but a good tip, if you don't know, you can knit a swatch like this and stick it in your shirt, like under your bra strap, and then it's really close to your skin all day, like especially a sensitive part of your skin. And you can just kind of stick it in there and see if it irritates you. And that's how you'll know if it's comfortable to wear wool close to the skin. Oh. Yeah, so that's fun. This is also an completely American made wool. So that's really nice. There's not many wool miles on it. Although the Woolly Thistle is great about wool miles because they buy lots of stuff. So that there's not like a ton of tiny packages coming over from overseas. There's just one big package, and then, you know, it doesn't have to go so far from there. So that's good, I guess. Anyway, I think that's it. Hobbs is just kind of like gone limp because he is out protesting. Oh, there's a burr. He likes to try and eat the burrs, but he shouldn't do that. He was bothering me about my lunch a little bit earlier. But yeah, he's obsessed with food. We have some dog friends who like don't really care about food, and Hobbs tries to eat their food if they come over. So hey, it's okay. There's another burr. Yeah. He likes to smell everything that gets taken off his body. He has to sniff his collar every night before bed. Is that right, Hobbs? Ah, no, he's like, please put me down. Okay, well, you were a good boy today, Hobbs. Yeah, there you go. There, you can sit up a little bit. Oh yeah, who's that? Who's that? No. Yeah, gonna go out and bother that. Oh, you got burrs all over your face. Yeah. Bother the chippy again? If I try really hard to pull them off near his face, he'll try and bite me, so. Oh, yeah. He's not a very affectionate dog. He tolerates affection, but he doesn't seek it out very often. There's one. Whoop. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put you down. Okay, well, this has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma and Hobbs. Bye.